right, guys. Well, good morning, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join us after a really amazing evening of awards and excitement. So 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning can be kind of early for a business session, but you know what? We are going to proceed, and we are going to go right through it. And as we go through, I know that we'll have a few more people that will show up and trickle down as they get the sleep out of their eyes and roll out of bed. So it is my absolute pleasure to welcome to the stage Mr. Mike Huggett from Takii. I think that this is going to be a really interesting program, talking about from breeding to the consumer, how professional designers can influence the trends that we see. So I think that he's going to have a lot of really cool information, and I'm excited to hear. Welcome, Mike.
Ooh. Thank you. Well, am I on? Oh, look it, I'm live. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for the super troopers that could get here in the morning and be here. Hopefully we have some excellent information to share with you. I'm gonna ask for my lovely assistant Avery to come up, if she would, and she's gonna help me out today. She's been helping me out ever since we got here on Friday, so I wanted to let her have one more chance of helping Dad. Go ahead and grab a seat, honey. This is Avery. She's my youngest daughter. And I'm going to arm you with the clicker. And this is all the power in the world right here in that little box right there. So whenever I tell you to hit that green button right there, you hit it, okay? And then you can advance the slides right there through my presentation, okay? Very good. Well, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a local guy. I'm actually 2 hours from here, south of here, in Litchfield, Michigan. I started my career there. My wife and I both worked at the same facility, C. Raker and Sons, and started our careers there. And wow, magically, 30-some years later or 4 years later, I'm here. So I'm really happy to be here. And we're going to be discussing, or we're going to be covering a little bit of a journey that I've been on for probably the last 6 years, and I hope that at the end of this that we can learn to connect and talk with each other and collaborate on some things, because our industry is, well, it's under a lot of pressure sometimes. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's really bad, but we're all in it together, and so we're just here to share ideas and things of that nature. So my journey, go ahead, Gravy, click it. And thanks for having us. It's a bit of a conspiracy how we got here in the first place, and we're going to start the story of this journey at the end. And today is marking a new beginning, but we're going to start the journey with a question: how we got to the Great Lakes Floral Show. But Gravy. So I'm sitting in my office about a year ago January, and I get an email. And Rod was on the email thread, and I forget who the other fellow was, but they said, "Hey, Mike, you ought to come up and have a booth here at the Great Lakes Floral, and you could get some great exposure and things up there." And my first question out of my mind, and this is no slight against the organization, but I went, "Who's Great Lakes Floral?" I had no idea whatsoever, and maybe the email caught me a little bit off guard, but needless to say, I emailed back and I did my search on the Google, and I went, wow, I said, maybe I must have contacted them sometime in the past or something like that. The very next day, or I think it was the Friday of setup, I came up and met with Rod, and Rod was so gracious. He took me around, showed me what was going on, and slowly the lights started to brighten in my mind, and I discovered that in some way or somehow I must have contacted Rod or had a conversation, and we must have talked about us being engaged with the group, and thought it was really fascinating. So we sat down, and I outlined kind of my idea for what I would want to bring to the group. So before we get to that, a couple of admin things. I'm not necessarily a professional speaker. I'm here representing Takii Corporate. But we're on kind of a quest to do things that maybe our competitors don't, like showing up here and investing here. And we think that's very important for the industry because we try our best to be stewards for for the industry and to support everyone that we can. So it's very important to us. The health of the industry overall is beneficial. So we're going to talk about who is Takii. So we're starting at the end of the journey. The conversation will actually lead us to the beginning of the journey, which has been plaguing me for 6, 7 years. And so I'm going to share with you who Takii is, what we're about, where we're from, what we do, how I spend my time, what I think about. I'm the sales manager. I have to think about a lot of things that are going on in the industry. And sometimes, as you know, it's very difficult to keep up with everything that's going on in our lives. Go ahead, Gravy. So Takii Seed. Takii Seed, established in 1835, if not the oldest, one of the oldest seed companies in the world. Okay, it's based in Kyoto, Japan. And our president is Takii. And we are a leader in breeding of vegetables and flowers. Okay, and we have corporate offices here in the U.S. in Salinas, California. We have them in Brazil, Europe, China, Korea, Turkey. Okay, we are a global company. Bigger than some, smaller than others. Okay, go ahead, Avery. We are the leading ornamental helianthus breeder in the world since 1991. Okay, in 2021, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of our Sunrich Series helianthus. Go ahead, Gravy. Why are sunflowers so important? Now, we breed many lines, but I'm just using sunflower as an example because one of the more recognizable products that you're probably using in your work, but it's a very important product for Takii. Go ahead, Avery. So on an annual basis, now this is combined with oil-type stems or edible sunflower heads and use in floral. The world consumes about 1.4 billion sunflower stems. And that's split, I don't know it's necessarily split evenly, I know it's not. Mostly that's for oil production and consumption by the consumer. Only a small fraction of that really is used in our world, in the floral world. But as you can see, over the entire world, sunflower is very relevant for the various areas, and they have different reasons for using them. Okay, Avery. So this gives you a scope of what, I guess, what a breeding company really concerns itself with, okay? That is a picture from the auction house in the Netherlands. And you can see those carts are all Sunrich stems of helianthus, Takii product, right? Pretty impressive, right? It's a lot of material every day that goes through that sale house, and that's an auction. So there's many buyers there, and they're from Russia, they're from wherever, and they're bidding on these, and so these get exported to wherever and for floral use. So it's no doubt that the consumer at large loves floral materials, cut flowers for their tables. And in fact, as you can tell from, well, your local retailer, your grocery markets and things like that, my local Shell station sells cut flowers, and they do quite well, right? So it's a very important segment to keep supplied. Go ahead, Avery. So a little bit of history on cut flower, the sunflower. In 1666, the first sunflower came from Japan to Europe. Came to Japan from Europe. The Japanese didn't necessarily want to eat it. So they decided that they would turn their attention into creating an ornamental use for the product. Now, have any of you been to Japan at all, ever? If you ever get a chance, go to Japan. If you're going to go to Asia, go. A lovely culture. You can't find a garbage can anywhere. People take everything they consume home with them. There's no litter. It's really wonderful. The one interesting thing that I learned about that culture is that they're a gift-giving culture. They do everything over the top. They have growers who specialize in muskmelon production, right? So every day they go out into the field and they turn the muskmelon. They turn it. Why? It has to be perfectly round, okay, for it to be a prime gift. And they'll go to great lengths to make sure the presentation of their gift is just primo. So the short day flowering variety was introduced by Mr. Nakajima. With the introduction of that short day type, the flowering season could be extended. This is really important to breeding. Okay, so in many cases here in the Midwest, for sunflower, obviously you have a very, very tight time frame and able to produce cut flowers, helianthus for use. Some can do it inside, but typically it just evaporates during the winter here. But Mexico, California, and other regions can produce all year round. But you need varieties that will perform under those short day conditions. We all typically think about sunflower just being a summer product. You throw some seeds out in the ground, and boom, by August you got yourself a nice looking cut flower, sunflower out in the garden. So this work was a trend-setting act. In other words, it set the table for what we are now currently dealing with. And let me tell you one thing about the breeders in Japan. So Takii is 185 years old. Okay? It does not make decisions fast or quickly. Okay? The breeders there are very dedicated to the work. As you can imagine from the culture they're coming from, perfection means everything. So a little lesson about F1 hybrids is that you rely tremendously on your parent lines. In other words, you're making selections after you're making the crosses. That's only half the battle. It's the stability of the parent lines for it to continue for 30 years, say. We have varieties that are in the field on the pot and bedding side that are 30 years old and have not changed. In other words, sometimes when products come to the market, they can begin to change over time. They get further and further away from the original intent. Okay, so flaws start to show, variability in stem length, germination, things of this nature. But with our Japanese colleagues, they refuse to bring anything forward until they know that they have a very good parent line and that it's stable and they can produce stock seed. Okay? So we're really setting the table high even back that late, back in the 1600s. Go ahead, Avery. So the first F1 hybrid, the Sunbright, which was bred by the Cicada company in 1986, was one of the first pollen-free. Now, pollen-free is very important for vase life. Okay, you have a lot of pollen, it gets really dirty, it starts shedding all over the consumer's tablecloth or whatever. But the pollinus has really helped advance everybody's after vase life. Vase life is everything in our world, isn't it? As long as you can make that thing look good and it lasts, the consumer really gets their money's worth. So in 1991, very quickly afterwards, Takii introduced the Sunrich Lemon, which was the first Sunrich variety to the market and which is 31 years old now. And then quickly after that, in 1992, Sunrich Orange was introduced. Okay, Avery. But what is American Takii? American Takii is based out of Salinas, California. I work right here in Michigan. I work right out of my home. We sell, our territory, my little group of people, are responsible for Canada, the U.S., Mexico, Ecuador, Colombia, Costa Rica. And we sell mainly through our broker distribution. Who's heard of Ball Seed Company? Yeah? Ball Seed Company is a great company. We collaborate with them, and they are our partner. And we work at many different levels, including the product management level. It's very important that when we engage our broker network that the product's ready to go. We rely heavily on our sales reps out in the field to fill the demand that their customers have. They may not even know they need our product, but the salesman who's prepped and knows the product, well, that helps us in the end. Okay, Avery? So cultivation for American Takii, largely for the cut flower, for sunflowers, yeah, we have some spots in California, Ontario, Canada, the East Coast a little bit, but a large majority of our material falls into Mexico, Colombia, Ecuador, things like that. Mexico, as an example, consume a lot of cut flowers. In fact, 80% of their production is for internal use only. It does not see the U.S. border at all, if it tells you anything. This is an example of one of our, this group of growers in central Mexico, I think are accountable for half of the sales of our one-line Full Sun Improved. It's a group of families. They work together. They use horses and plows to till the soil. I mean, this is not first world, handling. It's just second and third world, but not every day, they knock it out, and they have a primo product. They are just excellent growers. So every day they go out and they cut, and somebody from one of the families or a couple of the representatives of the family, they load up the truck, they go to town, they don't leave town until they sell that last stem, okay? And they're averaging about 35 cents a stem at the market. They work hard, but they love the product. It's their livelihood. They love it. They love their living, and they're very proud of what they do. And what a great group of people. Okay, Avery? So, new product development. Wow, what an exciting topic, right? It's actually one of the more important things that we can do. I'm a sales guy, okay? I couldn't do my job without proper product development, which means is we're bringing the product from an infant stage to maturity into the market, the introduction of our product. So on average, it takes a breeder anywhere from 6 to 8 years to bring a new product to the market. And I'm being gracious there. Sometimes it takes upwards of 10 to 15 years, depending on what they're trying to achieve. So these people sit in that greenhouse and do turn after turn. Sometimes they can only turn that product one time to see what they get. Sometimes they're lucky and they get 2 turns and they can move and advance things faster. But the life of a breeder is not very fun because there's more failures than there are successes. Okay? So from the time that we, the product management and the salespeople, get to see the product for the first time, and the product or the breeders decide that it's worthy of advancing, it's another 2 years of investment in time before anybody in this room would ever see the product. Why? Well, because we have to vet it. We have to make sure it works. Let's assume one thing, all of us together. The product that the consumer is using is the best, okay? You need us to do our job to bring the best products to the table. You guys that are making all these lovely designs around here have to have the best product for the consumer. We're all here for the consumer, okay? So either through osmosis or some way, if you're using my product, you want to be assuming that it's the best, okay? In likelihood, when you're making your selections out there and you're contacting your wholesaler or whoever you're working with to get supply, they've been through it. They understand that you need the best. They need the best. They got to be able to produce it. But still, 2 years. It takes 2 years, and sometimes it falls into a regionality thing that we can't sell it nationally. We have to sell it regionally. As part of the process of product management, we do a tremendous amount of trialing. We work with university, we work with private, we work with growers in our trialing process, and sometimes they fail. Sometimes you get set back another year because you had a negative result. Okay, so you have to spread yourself far and wide in your trialing process to see what you get. We work also with the AFCFG group, the Society of American Cut Flower Growers, which are mostly smaller growers, 1, 5, 10 acres. And from there, you can get some real brass tacks results. They'll tell you, this crap, don't bring it, we don't want it. Or it worked out really well. So you want to make sure you're putting something out there that's going to win, okay? Because you don't want to get a negative impression going out the door. So the product managers in this case really have the power to determine the fate of any new product, whether I get to buy it or not, okay? I have a lot of influence, but the product manager has far more influence than the sales manager. They have to be sure, and the company wants to be sure. Go ahead, Avery. So, why is Takii here? This journey started back, I guess, in 2019, and I got this bright idea that we would go, and we knew about the SAF group, and I hadn't had much contact with them, and I thought, well, wouldn't it be a wonderful idea if we go to SAF and we introduce ourselves and we're just all one happy family, right? Well, in fact, the convention was it was in the desert by Palm Springs, lovely place to go. And we got there and had a table, and we invested, quite a bit of money into going. But like the first question in this journey of who is Great Lakes Floral, we got the same question when we went there. Who's Takii? We were so disconnected, so out of the water, so separated by miles. And I knew instantly, I went, we shouldn't be here. They have no idea who we are. And probably because all of us get inundated with the troubles that we have to deal with day to day in our own businesses, they don't have time to worry about who Takii is, right? Bothered me. It wasn't anything personal, but I understood very quickly. I said, boy, there's a gap here, and I just don't know how we're going to jump it. Go ahead, Avery. So we're here to grow with you, okay? Truly, after that meeting with Rod a year ago, I felt very confident. I thought, well, this is it. This is the thing that we can do to take that first step into connecting with the people that we care about. We need you to be successful. We need you to stay engaged. And so how can we help that? How can we assist in that? How do we support that, right? Avery? So the rule coming in here was no sale. I'm not here to sell you a darn thing, okay? I'm only here to share who we are. And I want to get to know who you folks are too. And I've learned a lot since I've been here. I've been having people stop by the booth, and I knew I was in trouble again a little bit. I had a young lady stop, and two young ladies stopped by the booth, and they said, yeah, we work for so-and-so, and I was just silent. I guess I felt bad. I said, I don't know who that is. So there again is a live example of the gap. Maybe I should know. But they didn't know us either, so we're starting a new journey together. But the idea here is that we're not here for my American Takii's benefit. We're here for everybody's benefit, okay? So that line right there represents the world that I live in. It's the world that I come from, and you're in that line too. It's a standard sales line of which we follow to the letter. So we're the breeder, we're the start of the process, kind of. Well, you could say that, but ideas are typically the starter of an idea to make it a reality. The breeder, the broker, we rely heavily on our brokers because they're the boots on the ground that distribute our product, and they let the rest of the chain know, that they're available. The grower, wholesale, retailer, maybe some of you in here do grow some of your own products. I had a couple of conversations with some folks. Yeah, we're thinking about starting a little field. And boy, that's really refreshing to hear. I'll tell you, I spent, I guess, the vast majority of my career on the pot and bedding side, which is completely boring these days because it's not the same industry as when I started. But with the cut flower world, which I got introduced to when I started with Takii, which is 15 years ago, this has been a long journey for me. It's an interesting, cool industry to be in. It's very alive. But we follow this line, and so we can work directly with the grower, but once we get past that into the retail, the people who are dealing with the consumer directly, it gets dangerous. So imagine, if you would, if I came here today and I presented you the best new product for your work. And I said, well, screw it. I'm just going to go around the broker, and I'm going to go around the grower, and I'm going to come right to the retailer. What would the result be? Chaos. Okay? Got warned very many years ago, about 15, 16, 17 years ago. I was sitting in a greenhouse down in North Carolina, one of the biggest wholesale producers of pot and bedding. It's a 200-acre facility called Metrolina Greenhouses. And I was talking to a colleague of mine, Sim McMurray, and he sat me down, and he said, Mike, he says, whatever you do, don't ever go to the retailer without me with you. His message was really clear. What was happening was that there were some who were kind of bypassing the sales line, going to the retailer and saying, wow, look at this wonderful product. Well, the retailer, these box store guys, they get excited, and they have a lot of power. They start going back through their connection, their contacts. Nobody had any idea what was going on. Confusion, anger, where's the stuff at? We don't know about it. We have to be very, very careful, okay? So that's something to keep in mind, and I've separated the consumer here on purpose, because I tell you, our industry, it's great and things like that, but when we start jumping over the line and going out of order, things can get confusing, and especially confusing for the consumer, and it's fragile anyway, okay? So we want to respect that sales line. There's pros and cons to it. I mean, geez, I could do it all day long, and maybe I could sell some more product, but it's just not worth it. So the sales line, it's very important. Go ahead, Avery. So we have challenges and opportunities, I think. Maybe you do too. I know that for some, I know for me, I get overloaded with too much information. I get email. I'm just selecting and deleting. I can't keep up with all the material I get through email. I pick up quite a bit when I come to a show like this, but I get more when I build relationships in a real genuine manner, one-on-one, so we can talk about challenges. These challenges they're everything. I was really lucky. I got to spend a year ago, June, I was down at a leadership summit in Indianapolis, and have you ever heard of a futurist? So you think maybe tea leaves or a palm reader. No, this person was a futurist, and what her job is that she was contracting with Ford Motor Company. And her job is to look at the various events that are going on in the world, and they take these events and they walk them back to see how they may impact Ford. In other words, a skirmish, a war over here, or lack of supply over here, or some catastrophic event. How does that work back, either immediately or over a span of years, that will impact the Ford Motor Company? Now, wow, I said, that's a great name. That's a great handle for a job, but in fact, I do that all day long. I have to think about all these things that are going on in the industry that could impact us all, okay? So what's going on in our world? We have consolidation in the markets in Colombia. Wow, there are a lot of Europeans that were established in Colombia. Now they're moving out of Colombia, and where are they going? They're going to Mexico. What does that mean? Well, Mexico is 80% internal consumption. What if Mexico turns around and starts looking outward? What does that mean? What's that mean to the AFCFG growers, that have come back out of the ashes after being ruined in the 70s? They gutted the cut flower growers market, and out of the ashes, we now have this wonderful group of people growing product in their backyard and supplying the industry. So these are the types of things that I live with, some of the things that we could share that you may not recognize as being important, but likewise, I know that you have issues that you can feed me as well. And believe it or not, it makes its way back to the breeder. It really does. So our opportunities, our challenges are adapting, keeping customers. Who doesn't want to keep a customer? Communicating to the customer. Oh, somebody got the bright idea a few years ago that we needed to start talking to the millennials. I went, wow, that's going to be a tough one. I said, I don't know that I could do that, but yeah, we'll give it a try. Our opportunities really are. I have this little phrase. What do you do when you're late to a party? Well, you just behave like you've been there the whole time. So we're just starting. We're here. We're at the party, and we're just going to behave like we've been here the whole time. Never too late to start a conversation, right? I can encourage you, if you're really interested, we have local trials, Raker, 2 hours south of here. We've been working with Raker. They have an outdoor trial garden there. We're really beefing up the cut flower portion of that trial. So they're going to be working on Lysianthus, Helianthus, all these great products. Some may be outside of what you typically use, but information comes in in connecting with that group of people and just talking about what you need can help you immensely. Maybe we could start a small group here this week. I got business cards out there. We can make a phone call, say, hey, how's it going out there? Well, let me tell you what's going on in my world. And we can share some of these things that might make a difference in our work. And so we're dedicated to a long-term strategy here, okay? We're here, we're going to stay. We like doing things that maybe our competitors aren't doing. We like poking our finger in the eye of conventional thinking and stepping out. And we're going to be hosting an open day down in our Athens trial location to the AFCFG group. That's the first time ever, we think, that'll be happening. So we like to do those types of things. So again, go ahead, Avery. I want to thank you for coming, and I want to thank you for the time. And the organization, Rod's not around. I'd pick on him a little bit, but I've got a little time for questions. But before we do that, Avery, why don't you give me that powerful clicker, and then right under the lectern here, there's a bag, isn't there? Bring that out here. Stand right there. Now, Avery, I'm going to put a lot of pressure on you, okay? It's going to be scary. So I'm going to ask if there's any questions. And so, hopefully we'll get some hands up in the air, and you have to decide who you're going to give that jacket to from the hands that are raised, okay? And they get to ask the first question, okay? So, this is an extra large Sunrich jacket, very nice, last of its kind. So Rod probably killed me. I should have probably had it back there on the auction table, but no, didn't want to do that. Are there any questions out there in the group? I guess that's your winner. Go ahead and present the jacket to her. Go right down that way.
Well, can I ask
Sure.
You did a wonderful job. What is your favorite flower? I got a question for her, Anne.
My favorite flower is probably hibiscus.
Oh, okay. That's a lovely choice. It's very high in vitamin C and good for you. My question to you is, what is your favorite thing about working in the industry, and what is your least favorite thing about working in the industry, coming from the broker?
Well, okay, so the least favorite was I missed a lot of time at home. I spent maybe 50% of my time in travel. After COVID, I've learned, that needs to end. I have 3 of my daughters are here. I have 8 kids, and I've missed a lot over those. I missed plays, ball games, things of that nature. Generally, the industry it's been a wonderful experience. But the travel, at least for me, was a bit of a challenge, right? I was a grower for many years, and that had its demands, and my wife would tell you, it's 7 days a week, and you miss things there too. So, there's a cost. And so as long as you're prepared to pay the cost, this industry's treated me so well. I've been to so many places, but I've missed a bit too. So I've Fact is, what I've done, or my attempt has been to at least my oldest daughter, Hannah, she went to San Antonio to a show with me. Olivia's been to California Spring Trials, and I've tried to include them with my time at work so they could understand why I was gone. So at least that, right? The best thing, I think, is this. The people that I've been able to have relationships with over the years is, I could care less in some ways about the product. It's about the relationships I've built and the genuine time that we have together and just talking, and we may not necessarily talk about product, but again, we sit down and we find ourselves talking about events that are out of our control and how are they going to impact us. And I genuinely care. I mean, I wouldn't be here. Look, the easiest path is to just worry about those guys that are growing 1 million stems every year. That'll take care of itself. I'm really interested in you guys. I want the health of the industry to remain. I'm a traditionalist. I like old things. I don't like things to go away. I hate it when things get, trust me, the pot and bedding side, decimated. It's not what it used to be. I can't do anything about that. But maybe I could take a stab at supporting you guys. And look, I'm 59. I'm not long for this game, okay? So my job now is just this. We're here as an ambassador. How can we help, We may not seem accessible all the time, but we're going to be here, and I hope to grow in this organization and learn. I might even take the florist design school. I don't even know. I might do it, just to learn. I like learning, so, yeah. Ma'am? Sorry? Well, just that. We're here to, ask me questions. How can I help you? Okay? Product's one thing, but again, the struggles that we all have, and I have them. It's not like we're, on top of the world here. We have competition, just like you guys. I got guys from Israel that are coming over here. I got seed getting into Mexico with no paperwork. That's a challenge. How do you solve that? It's impossible. In Europe, with the start of the war, they all started, we're going to boycott gas. Well, do you know what the end result of that was? There's businesses closing over there all day long. Greenhouse, they're gone. They're not going to come back. So these things continue to grow. So there's concerns. That's why we should hold hands, and say, let's keep gritting our teeth. Let's keep moving forward, right? We're here. Let's hang in there, okay? So I hope that's it. I hope you can understand that we're here to be a partner of yours. You may buy my seed, you may get my, I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about you guys and making sure that we're supporting you.
So, what do you find that consumers desire the most? Like maybe like 3 or 5 things that you find them wanting the most out of us.
You know what? I'll tell you because I'm a consumer too. I miss old flower shops. We had one in Litchfield that's closed. It's been closed, I don't know how long, babe. Maybe 5 years now, maybe 6 years. That was when I was a kid. That was the place to go buy flowers, right? That smell. Somebody was up here yesterday talking about the consumer experience, right? And they were talking about the scent. And I remember that scent in a floral show or a shop, nothing like it, right? I like quality. I like visual, right? I think he was hitting on some of those points. And it's just the feeling of quality. And look, we're in a world of reality. Kroger has a floral department, right? All these supermarket chains have floral. Yeah, absolutely, right? And let's face it, if your Shell station is selling roses that last 14 days, that's freaking unbelievable. I would never have thought that. I went to Columbia for a show not long ago, and it was all roses. Of course, I couldn't believe how far a rose had advanced in their, in their breeding. Unbelievable, right? But I think for me, when I get a lot of pride when I go into these places, and I go, wow, this is really wonderful. But I don't want to lose the fact that those people cannot service your customer. Is a bride going to go to Kroger to get their, they're not. They're going to come to somebody like you. But that store experience for me was always They always had the little knickknacks and the green plants and the smell. I'll never forget that smell. And I get it every once in a while when I walk into a cut flower cooler. I go, boy, there's no smell like that, ever.
Yeah, because every day there's always at least one customer who's like, oh, it smells so good.
Yeah, right?
And everyone's nose blind to it in the industry, it feels like.
I'm not me. Not me. That it? Any other questions? It's really been a pleasure to be here, and thank you to my family for being here and supporting me. Always means a lot, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. We
You're
sure
welcome.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. I think one of the things, and if I could just speak to the question that you had, what can a retailer gain from that? I think the transparency and understanding that it's relationships, knowing how this process works from the developer to the grower to the broker and all of that, knowing how that process works, it arms us with the knowledge of how the flowers end up. And what we were talking about yesterday in the first main stage program about sustainability, we can hope to become sustainable when we know, start to finish, where our flowers come from, how they're processed, how they're handled, and who it is that's responsible for getting them to us so that we can get them to our consumers. So
Very
thank
good.
you. Thank you so much. I sure appreciate it, Mike.
My pleasure.
All right, guys.
Scoot
And
up.
also thank you to Takii Seeds for bringing you here and allowing you to share your knowledge.
Our pleasure.